Welcome back to another episode of Korean True Crime. In today's episode, we will be discussing the wickedness of the internet and animal cruelty. Disturbed people wanting to test the limits of their own depravity while hiding behind the protection that the internet and anonymity offer them. If you've seen the Netflix documentary Don't F with Cats, then you have a good understanding of the kind of content we will be discussing today. As a trigger warning, we will be talking about animal abuse and torture today, with some detail. On December 9th, 2010, an internet user posting under the anonymous screen name Catsaw, that's C-A-T-S-A-W, like a kitty cat and a handsaw. They posted on a community website called DC Inside, which is about the Korean equivalent of 4chan or Reddit. It's an anonymous forum where people can post in groups about literally anything. Catsaw, as we can call this person, posted in a group for cat lovers called the Meow Gallery, which sounds very cute. I agree. It sounds like you're gonna find pictures of little cats in socks with beanies and little cozy sweaters. It sounds adorable, but unfortunately, that's not what we're here for today. Catsaw posted a series of photos and a short message that would then lead to a nationwide search. The 4 photos that were posted were of an abused cat that Catsaw identified as Cha-Cha. The photos are extremely disturbing and they still exist on the internet today, but I don't suggest you go looking them out if you want to sleep well tonight. People doubted the validity of the photos, whether this was a joke post or not, and some even doubted that the cat was still alive, specifically because under the effects of chloroform, this cat had had its lower jaw removed. The accompanying post was equally as troubling, and it explained a little bit as to why his screen name was Catsaw, and thankfully it has nothing to do with an actual Saw. It has to do with the Saw franchise. Yeah, the one by James Wan with Jigsaw the Killer. Catsaw saw themselves as some kind of sick, twisted, dark vigilante for animal rights justice. And if you haven't seen the Saw movies, I'll give a brief explanation. The films follow Jigsaw, a man with a twisted sense of revenge and justice, who tortures people that he believes have wronged him or don't value their lives or don't value other people's lives. And it becomes really clear throughout the series that whether or not he actually cares about rehabilitating or changing people's lives is arguable. So Catsaw, our subject, wrote a message asking members of the Meow Gallery to play a game. Very similar to Jigsaw from the movie. Catsaw also wrote out his messages as if he was Jigsaw in like the same kind of manner that Jigsaw talks in the movies. And his message read, "For the past month, I've been doubting that my children don't cherish their cats. Why are people who want cats so badly neglecting to raise them? This cat's name is Cha-Cha. She is suffering right now. If you play a simple game with me, this cat will be healed and returned to its original home. The first rule is very simple. You cannot insult me when convincing me. If the above rule is broken or the post is deleted, poor Cha-Cha will be left cold and dead. Now, shall we start the game?" Catsaw wanted the users of Meow Gallery to prove to them that they loved their pets, and they did it in a very unconventional way. People were doubting the validity of the post because they believed maybe this person is just taking photos from another website, posting them here and playing some kind of sick joke on us. But people also were really afraid for the safety of Cha-Cha. I have access to the original comments from the original post, and people were genuinely scared. People thought that this person was stealing cats and torturing them. People tried reasoning with Catsaw to let Cha-Cha go. They said, "I will house this cat. I will take care of this cat." But people also immediately broke the rules and started calling him a sicko, a freak, a psychopath, you name it. One of the comments that stuck out to me the most was someone who posted about their own history with animal abuse, and it makes me wonder if Catsaw read this comment. The user posted that their family had gotten a puppy when they were young, and that this puppy pulled on its leash a lot, so they would smack the puppy in the head. And one day when they hit the puppy, it didn't bark, it didn't try to bite them, it started licking their hand. And they said in that moment that they realized how innocent animals are and that they themselves were the monster, that they themselves acted out of anger towards an animal that just saw them as a caretaker and a parent figure. Unfortunately, the post wouldn't even last a few hours later. It was taken down by the administrators for the graphic content of the images, which clearly weren't allowed per the website's terms of use. Catsaw would have known that when posting it, and they were challenging the administrators to keep it up to save the cat, and they took it down. Users immediately tried to track the IP address of Catsaw to find out their identity, but DC Inside doesn't actually store any identifying information about their users, including IP address. So when Catsaw deleted their account immediately after posting, there were no traces left. Then people moved on to the photos. They tried to find things like the background or the walls, the bathroom tiles that were in the photo, maybe something about that could identify the type of house or whether or not it was an apartment or maybe what city it was in. The next day, December 10th, 2010, an animal rights activist group called the Animal Love Practice Association sent in the official police report, and while they're waiting for the police to respond, on the Meow Gallery, the same user, Catsaw, posted again. This post stated, "I'll start the second game," with an attached photo of a bottle of chloroform with the dark silhouette of a cat in the background. The photo is super dark and very low quality, which was very different from the initial photos the day before, which were of average quality, but in the light of the bathroom. This time they said that the people had broken the rules and insulted Catsaw. Cha-Cha had lost her life and that they had proven that they will kill animals. Then they proposed that the second game would begin. Catsaw wanted 3 questions answered, and they listed them. 1. Is the life of cats and the lives of human equal? 2. How much is a human life worth? 3. What is the justification for Boshintang? I'll explain the third question a little bit. Boshintang is dog meat soup, and it is going out of style in South Korea, but it still is to this day pretty readily available. There are a few restaurants just near my apartment, to be honest, and it's going out of style with young Koreans, and President Moon has actually come forward and talked about whether or not they're going to make it illegal in the coming years. And the largest argument against it is just the horrible living condition that these dogs live in, that there's no FDA approval for the meat, and that a lot of these dogs are stolen or taken from animal shelters and not actually raised in controlled conditions on farms. If you're interested in learning more about dog meat farms, you can check out the short documentary available on YouTube by Kevin Bright under the title Nurangi. I will post it in the description of this episode. The police were able to track down the owner of that bottle of chloroform. Turns out this entire post was made by a copycat looking for a sick joke. The cat in the photo was the user's actual cat. It was fine, no harm had come to it, and the person owned the chloroform legally. In the days following the initial Catsaw post, people began making more and more copycat posts, some with photos from other websites of abused cats, some text posts explaining how they killed Cha-Cha. It was just an abundance of sick people making posts about animal abuse. 4 days after the initial posting, the police were able to track the IP address of one of the Catsaw posters, Yu Dong-nik. This man had been reported by animal rights activist groups prior for animal abuse, and this is what flagged it for the police. They traced his IP address and were able to find out where he lived. 2 years prior, in 2008, Yu Dong-nik had joined various animal protection groups and cat clubs, saying that he would foster stray cats at his house and take care of them until they would find a home. He collected around 30 cats. He kept all 30 cats in a single room that had no window, no ventilation, no water, no food. Sometime after he had adopted all of these cats and kept them in this room, someone from the animal rights group came to check on the cats, and when they saw the horrible living conditions that these cats were living in, they shut down the entire operation and confiscated the cats that were still alive. As tragic as that story was, the police spoke to the animal rights groups, and together they came to the conclusion that Yu Dong-nik was just a man with a misguided love for cats. He didn't seem to be able to take care of himself even, and appeared to be suffering from mental illnesses. However, I'm not sure if any of those are actually diagnosed or if that is just police speculation. Udong Nick apologized to the animal rights groups back in 2008 and hadn't owned any cats since, and he didn't seem like the type of person to intentionally harm a cat because he seemed like a cat lover. So the police kept looking for other suspects. Of course, the police also checked his place to make sure he didn't own any cats, and they took photos of all of the tile surfaces in his house, and none of them matched. People became really upset that Jigsaw wasn't caught. They understood that the police were doing the best they could, but decided to pressure the Korean government to take it more seriously by having animal rights protests outside of government buildings. The police decided to put a 5 million won bounty on Jigsaw. That's about $4,200. This is the first ever bounty to be put on an animal abuse case in South Korean history. However, the internet users also caught wind that the police were investigating Udong Nick, and the internet sleuths were able to dig up his history with animal abuse and ended up bullying him online so much that he came forward in an interview saying that he attempted suicide because people were harassing him at his place of work, online. They were calling him, they were emailing him, forcing him to shut down his phone number, all of his online accounts, until he attempted suicide. However, as time went on and people began to heal from the trauma that was the Jigsaw post, people began to parody the just obscene nature of mimicking Jigsaw from the Saw franchise and started making other Saw posts like Plant Saw, where people pretended to cut up fake plants and demanded that people prove that they loved their plants, or they would kill the plant they saw in front of them. It was kind of funny in a dark, twisted kind of way. That was the last anyone ever heard of Jigsaw. The original Jigsaw would never make a post again, or so we know. There would never be a conclusion to this unsolved case. 다음에 또 봐요. See you next time on Korean True Crime with me, your host, Mimi Mizuko.